I spent 100 days playing Terraria, and here's what happened. I've officially started the first ever day of my Terraria journey. And like every other person that just started Terraria, I started down by chopping down some trees. And I was also welcomed to the world by 2 slimes. I then crafted my first ever workbench. Then I started chopping down some trees so I could build my base. When I started building my base, I already knew it was going to be amazing. I mean, just look at it, it's beautiful. But anyways, I started to explore the world and I saw a weird looking creature. But I did no damage to it, so I just ran away. Since the left side of the world was dangerous, I went to the right side and I found a cave, and I even found some pretty good loot, and I found some lead. I decided to go deeper into the cave to see if I could find any better loot, and as you can see, I did manage to find some stuff. Just look how good my new spear is. And then I almost died to 2 slimes while trying to get this gold chest, but it was definitely worth it. I then had my first ever death. What? This is gonna be fun. When I respawned, me and the guide NPC had to fight for our lives. I also started to expand my base so we could be more protected. And thank God I had my spear with me because I probably would have died without it. Ow, I'm dead. Oh my God. Even though I died, I was still trying to expand my base so me and the guide NPC could be more safe. And just look at the masterpiece I created. It kind of looks like a mushroom. I also placed a campfire in my house so I could hide up there and heal when I was low. I built all through the night and I think it looks pretty good. I then decided to craft some wood armor for protection, and I couldn't craft the boots, so I just decided to craft a yo-yo. And look, it's actually pretty cool. I then decided to place a table and a chair for my guide NPC, and I even made my first hammer. I also realized that you could break the background walls with the hammer, and I didn't even really know what to do, so I just kept expanding my base, and I think it actually turned out pretty good. I mean, you can just tell I have some building experience. I also picked up and used a fallen star, which increased my mana, and I even found a pretty cool weapon that let me kill enemies way quicker. I then decided to go explore more of the right side of my world. I then found a desert, but I guess I thought my kite was a parachute, so I jumped down this hole and almost died. I don't really know what I was doing, but I guess I decided to jump again. I then hopped on a minecart to see where it would take me. I also tried to mine some of the corruption biome, but quickly found out that I couldn't. And look how easily I could kill slimes now with my new weapon. I also ran over a slime with my minecart. Once I got off the minecart, I started digging down in hopes of better loot. And I guess digging down worked because I found some lead. And I even got some copper. I also found a life crystal, but at the time I obviously didn't care, so I just ran past it. I used some bombs I found in the cave to explode the ground near my house. I then started to mine some of the stone because I needed to craft a furnace. And let's go, we have a furnace now. I then used my furnace to craft some lead bars. Then I used my lead bars to craft a lead anvil. And I was also able to make a heavy workbench. And I crafted the copper helmet, but that was the only piece of armor that I could make at the time. And I was definitely feeling very safe with my copper helmet. But sadly, the copper helmet was not enough to save my life. So since I couldn't go to the left side of my world, I decided to go to the right. But before I went exploring, I actually crafted the pumpkin armor because it was better than the copper and wood. But I guess the pumpkin armor wasn't enough to save me from this boulder. At this point in the game, I literally just kept dying, so I just decided to work on my base some more. And I was feeling unbeatable in my new pumpkin armor, but yeah, this happened. Oh my God. So then I went back to the right side of my world. While searching for heart crystals, I found a fox costume and became a furry. But I guess that gave me bad luck because I got rolled over by cactuses 2 seconds later. Finally, I made a smart decision and decided just to go back to the normal cave. And look, I even mined the life crystal this time. And once I use it, it will give me an extra heart of health, but unfortunately, I didn't know that. I then tried to cross the corruption biome, but I fell into a hole and died. I then crafted some chains because my new main goal was to craft a grappling hook. And as you can see, I also used my life crystal because I have an extra heart of health now. I then went mining to find some gems to craft my grappling hook. I also got stuck on a minecart, which is kind of funny. But even though I couldn't find what I was looking for, I still found a lot of tungsten, which is way better than my copper tools. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything in that cave, so I went to a different one to try my luck. And even if it's not much, I still found some sapphire. And I also found another life crystal in this weird looking cave. And not just one life crystal, I found 2. I also saw a cool looking pink biome under me, so so I used some bombs to get down to it, and I even found my first pieces of gold. Also, I accidentally dug into a spider cavern, and it was actually pretty scary because I almost died. I kept getting attacked by spiders while mining, but that didn't stop me from getting good loot. Not only did I get enough amethyst for a grappling hook, but I also found a life crystal, and I got some good loot from a golden chest. I also found this magic mirror, which always returns me home. And look at that, I was finally able to craft my grappling hook. Just look at me finally making some nice progress. As you can see, I was pretty happy about getting the grappling hook. I then placed down another table and chair, hoping to get another NPC to come to my house. I also got bored of mining, so I just decided to expand my base again. I even decided to upgrade my copper pickaxe to a tungsten pickaxe. And finally, I finished my house expansion. Doesn't it just look amazing? I then went to the corruption biome to craft a suspicious looking eye, which is used to summon in the Eye of Cthulhu. So I crafted it and quickly went back to my base. Also, Alfred the merchant came to my house. And a couple minutes later, the traveling merchant arrived. But anyways, before my first ever boss fight, I wanted to get a full set of tungsten armor. At least that's what I thought I was doing, but instead I crafted a tungsten axe, which will definitely help me in the boss fight. Then finally, I summoned in the Eye of Cthulhu. Wait, I just realized I think I need range for this. Oh my god. Sadly, I realized that a little bit too late. No. Now that I knew I needed a ranged weapon, I went ahead and crafted a lead bow. With my new amazing weapon, I just knew that I could beat him. But unfortunately it turned morning, so I couldn't even fight him. But that wasn't a bad thing, because now I could actually prepare, and look, I was even building an arena. I then went mining again to actually get some better gear this time. But out of nowhere while mining, a blood moon happened. But before going up to do the event, I got exploded by a chest. But when I returned, the blood moon wasn't actually as bad as I thought it would be. And there we go, we now have survived our first ever blood moon. I also put on my new Ninja Turtle suit, which I'll definitely be wearing for the rest of the video. I was feeling very confident at the time, so I went over to the corruption biome to craft the suspicious looking eye. But since it was still day, I went back to the caves to get some tungsten and other ores to upgrade my tools. And after that, I was even able to craft a tungsten bow. I still didn't really know if I was ready to fight, but I wanted to try anyway. And look at that, with my new bow and arrows, I was actually doing some pretty good damage. I was doing so good during this attempt that I even got him down to the second phase. I was definitely very nervous during the second phase, but luckily I built an arena that helped me dodge his attacks. And let's go, we beat our first ever boss in Terraria. And after beating the eye, he dropped some demonite ore, which I then crafted the demon bow and the light spane with my demonite. And just look at how cool this new sword is. I then decided to explore the right side of my world, hoping to find a new biome. And I found the jungle biome, but before I could explore it, I just went into the cave right in front of it. And there was definitely a lot of good stuff in this cave. But sadly, I went a little too deep and got jumped by a couple of bees. I don't really remember why, but I made a pumpkin bed so I could skip some time. And after laying in my bed for a second, slime started falling from the sky. So I went out and started killing all of them because I was trying to farm up some money to buy the forest pylon from the merchant. But out of nowhere, this happened. The king slime has awoken. I didn't even know that was a thing. When I saw the health bar appear, I quickly tried to rush back to my arena. But sadly, the grappling hook that took me forever to get was too short to get up on top of my house. I did eventually make it into my base, but I guess I forgot he could teleport because he teleported right onto me and killed me. I tried killing more slimes to try and respawn him, but sadly the slime stopped falling from the sky. But after fighting the king slime, I really wanted to fight a boss, so I went back to the demon altar to craft another suspicious looking eye. I summoned him in, but I knew with my new weapons it wouldn't even be that hard. But because I thought like that, I actually almost died, but I still managed to kill him. And for some reason, with all the demonite ore I got, I decided to craft the yo-yo. But I guess the yo-yo was still pretty good. I then bought the forest pylon from the merchant. I didn't really know if the pylons did, but I still decided to go over to the jungle. I wanted to make a house in the jungle so I could get an NPC to move into the jungle house. And the NPC better like this house I was making because I was literally building through the thunderstorm. And look at that, I think it looks pretty good. I also finally placed the forest pylon to see what it did. And then finally, mid thunderstorm, an NPC decided to show up. I then went to the corruption biome and blew up some of these orb things. And it actually dropped a gun, which is kind of cool. Then when I tried to go back to the jungle cave, I got invaded by a goblin army. And oh my god, did I die a lot. I finally found a way to farm them easily near the end though. Well, look at this, I died so much times that my house turned into a graveyard biome. And it took a long time, but I did eventually beat the goblin army. But after dying so much, I had to break every single gravestone. But after that, I went straight back to destroying the orbs. And I knew a boss would spawn after breaking the third one, so I decided to prepare by building a little arena. And after making the arena pretty big, I decided to break the third orb and spawn in the Eater Worlds. And he definitely wasn't the hardest boss, and I was doing pretty good damage. damage, but I definitely don't think I was prepared at the time. I definitely had a good first try, but I just wasn't ready for him yet. After dying to the Eater of Worlds, I decided that I should try to increase my health and get some better tools, so that's exactly what I did. And I didn't even know you could find it normally, but I found some demonite ore. I also found this NPC, but he wasn't really selling anything good at the time. But look at this, I also found a cloud in the bottle, which lets me double jump. When I got back up to the surface, I crafted the demonite axe expecting it to be good, but it wasn't really that good, so I didn't really use it. I then went back to the jungle cave because I was trying to find the queen bee hive. And on my way down, I actually found a pretty good weapon. And I don't know why I found the goblin NPC here, but he sells the rocket boots and the tinkerer's workshop, which are both great pre-hard mode items. And I didn't think I would, but I actually found the queen bee hive. And it was taking too long to break into it, so I just decided to explode it. And when I got into the hive, I didn't really know what to do, so I really decided in the honey. I don't really know what I was thinking, but I decided to break it and spawn in the queen bee. And something I was gonna have to learn is that if you don't prepare, then you don't win. I also found a suspicious eye in a jungle chest, so I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu again. And for some reason this time it was very easy. I mean, I barely got hit once. After that, I was gonna fight the Eater of Worlds again, but then I found this blue mushroom biome, so I decided to explore it. But besides the enemies being a little bit stronger, there was really nothing special about it, so yeah, I just left. But I kept mining because I wanted to get a ruby so I could make the summoning item for the king slime. Also, this random guy named Tim came out of nowhere and started attacking me, so I had to kill him. And while looking for ruby, I dug so far down that I made it to hell. I tried to mine some of the hellstone, but my pickaxe wasn't good enough, so I just went back up to the house. But while mining, I also found a ruby, so I was able to craft the gold crown, which I needed to make the summoning item for the slime king. And I also made a ruby staff. And when I went down to the demon altar, I was able to make 3 slime crowns. I also sifted through all my silt, but sadly I didn't get anything too good. But before it turned day, I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu again. And just like before, it wasn't hard at all. But now it was time to fight the slime king, so I spawned it in and got ready to fight. The slime king quickly teleported up to me and hurt me a little bit, but I managed to keep my distance with him and do some good damage with my staff. And before I knew it, the fight was already over, and there we go. I had officially beat my second ever boss in Terraria. And look at that, a new NPC, Saliva the Slime, moved into my house. But before I could celebrate, I decided to kill the king slime one more time. And look, I even got my first ever mount. So I decided to test out my mount by killing the king slime on it. But after beating the king slime a couple times, I still wasn't happy because I remembered that I just died to the queen bee. And I almost forgot about the NPC down here, but I bought the rocket boots off him, which allowed me to fly now for a little bit. And now that I'm able to fly, it will definitely be a little bit easier to beat the queen bee. But I got distracted when I found out what the splunker potion did, so I spent the 5 minutes it was up for mining. I ended up dying in the jungle cave, so I went back over to the corruption to fight the Eater of Worlds again. But before spawning him in, I decided to be smart and work on a little arena just so I could be prepared. And here we go, it is officially time to beat the Eater of Worlds. And while in the fight, I realized when he ran into my slime, it would deal damage to him, so I literally stayed on the slime the whole fight. And it looked like my strategy was working because every time he would split up, I would just jump down on him and he would take so much damage. And it looked like that was the perfect strategy because not even a minute later, we have now defeated our third boss. And the Eater of Worlds actually drops an important item called Shadow Scales, which will allow me to craft more of the demonite tools and armor. And I was actually able to craft the pickaxe and all the armor. After crafting all my new tools, I was sure that I could mine the hellstone now, so I went straight down to hell. After falling to my death, I realized I was right and I could mine the hellstone, but I had to be careful because every time I broke it, lava would come out of it. I mined hellstone for a little bit, then I remembered that I had to get the hellstone forge to even be able to craft all the new weapons. And look at that, I was able to make 49 pieces of hellstone. And with all the hellstone I had, I crafted the imp staff, the volcano, and I even crafted the helmet. And now I have my own personal bodyguard. And my sword was definitely way cooler than before. I mean, just listen to the sound it makes when I hit something. Oh my god. I then went down into a cave and got some obsidian. And I even went back down to hell to get some more hellstone. After getting a lot more hellstone, I went back to the base and crafted a new pickaxe, new boots, and even a new bow. I also placed on a bookshelf to make my house look a bit better. And I placed a couple of banners. I then went back to the jungle to get the items I needed to craft the queen bee summoning item. So after getting some honey blocks, some hives, and some bottles of honey, I was then able to craft 7 abominations, which is then used to summon the queen bee. So yes, I was now able to fight the queen bee 7 times, but there was a blood moon happening, so I just slept through it. But once I got back down to the hive, I quickly built a little arena for the fight, and I already knew I had to get revenge on the queen bee for killing me earlier. If I'm gonna be honest though, besides having to dodge a couple attacks, the fight wasn't really that hard. My new tools and rocket boots made this fight way too easy. So not even 30 seconds later, I went in with my sword and finished the fight. We have now got our revenge on the queen bee and beat our 3rd or 4th boss. I can't even keep track at this point. But I still had 6 more chances to fight the queen bee, so I decided to kill it 6 more times. So I was gonna beat the queen bee all 6 times, but I basically got every single drop on the 3rd time beating her, so yeah, I just went back home. And after beating the queen bee, I quickly headed over to the dungeon so that I could fight Skeletron. I arrived at the dungeon and saw the old man I had to talk to summon him, but I wanted to build a little arena first, so yeah, that's the first thing I did. I also made it pretty big just to make sure that I won. And once I was finally done with the arena, I went down and talked to the old man to summon Skeletron. I didn't really know if the fight was going to be hard or not at first, but me making the arena big definitely helped a lot. My main plan for this fight was just to fly around him and take out his hands first, but I started panicking a little and just started spraying him. But I did eventually take out the first hand and the second hand, and after both hands were gone, I already knew this fight was over. So yeah, let's go. Skeletron has now been defeated. And with Skeletron defeated, I can now go into the dungeon, which probably has some good loot. The traps in the dungeon definitely hurt me a lot, but I managed to make my way through. And while going down, I actually found a bewitching table, which might be useful later on. But right after, I tried to get this golden chest and didn't see the spikes on the floor. But I went straight back to the dungeon and even got a golden key. And then I opened the chest and officially started robbing the dungeon. But besides robbing the dungeon of their loot, there was really nothing else to do. And right when I was about to go home, I fell into a spike pit and died. When I got home, I realized I had 2 teleporters, so I tried to connect my main house to my jungle house, but quickly realized that it didn't work. And I don't really know why, but I guess I wanted to fight the Eye of Cthulhu again. And the Eye of Cthulhu put up a good fight, but obviously it was not good enough. I also bought a drum set, so yeah, let me know if you like the music. The next thing I did was make a lot of pumpkin platforms because I wanted to fight the wall of flesh, and to fight the wall of flesh you need a huge arena. And on the way down to hell, I actually found a weapon called the magic missile, which seemed pretty good. But anyways, when I got to hell, my plan was just to build the biggest possible arena that I could. And while building the arena, I actually got 2 pretty good weapons, which was the flower of fire and the sun fury. And after building my arena for a little bit, this happened. Oh my god, I found it. Yep, that's right. I finally found a demon with a voodoo doll, meaning I could fight the wall of flesh, so I quickly killed it and prepared for the fight. Sadly, when I threw the voodoo doll on lava to summon the wall of flesh, I was too far on the left side of the map, which makes the whole arena I built useless. But I actually did better than I thought I would with literally no arena at all, but yeah, it wasn't surprising that I died here. But yeah, I quickly went back down to hell and searched for another voodoo demon. I also expanded my arena a little bit more, which will definitely help. And while building my arena, I even found another voodoo demon. But once I finished my arena and threw the voodoo doll into the lava, the wall of flesh still didn't spawn because I still needed to wait for the guide NPC to come back because I basically sacrificed them. So I quickly went back up to the surface and got to work on another home and hoped that the guide NPC would come back. And some other NPCs started to move into my new home, but the guide NPC still won't come back. While waiting for the guide NPC to come back, I bought the Tinkerer's Workshop. And the Tinkerer's Workshop basically just allows you to combine your items to upgrade them. And let's go, Garrett the guide has arrived. After saying hi to the guide NPC, I rushed back down to hell to sacrifice him again. And after finding another voodoo doll, I quickly threw it into the lava right away this time to start the fight. And now that I had an arena this time, I thought I was gonna win the fight, but unfortunately, I won the fight. Let's go! Yes! And look, I even got the achievement, it's hard. I even got some pretty good loot to start off my new hard mode journey. But when I got home, I had to face my first ever hard mode event, and let's just say it didn't go too well. But now that I'm in hard mode, I had to break 3 altars to see which ores I get. So when I broke it, I got palladium, I got mithril, and I got adamantite. And I didn't know how much altars I was supposed to break, so I broke like 5 more. And look, I even found some palladium while destroying the altars. But I destroyed a little bit too much altars and I got swarmed by the ghosts. When I got back to base, I realized I don't even have a elevator, so I started making one. And while digging down, I decided to use a splunker potion so I could get some more palladium. After working on my elevator for a little bit, I decided to go back up and see what I could craft with all my palladium. And just look at all the cool new stuff I could craft with all my palladium. But I only decided to craft the drill, and it kind of sounded like a chainsaw. And with my new drill, I decided to go back down and try to finish my elevator. But there were still some things getting in my way. And oh my god, how did I fall for it again? But on the good side of things, I found some mithril. And look at that, I even got the max health now. Let's go. I also got an achievement for mining a lot, so yeah, that's cool. And I found a wizard NPC in a random cave, which is kind of weird, but I guess he might be useful later. Also, while getting some mithril, I encountered my first ever fairy. And I think it was supposed to lead me to some treasure, but I just kept getting the mithril. Then I went into a blue mushroom biome, but there was really nothing to do there, so I just left. And look at all the mithril ingots I made. I then crafted a mithril anvil because you need it to craft the new weapons. And there we go, I upgraded to the mithril drill. I saved the rest of my mithril because I knew I still had to get the adamantite. And I'm actually surprised at how fast I could find adamantite. This is kind of random, but I also killed a nymph, which is pretty cool. And I even found out that I can now get souls of light, which is pretty cool. And very surprisingly, I was actually finding a lot of adamantite, which I thought was going to be a lot more rare, but I guess not. So after getting all that adamantite, I went back and crafted the adamantite forge, which then allowed me to craft the helmet, the chest plates, the mithril boots, and the adamantite sword. I then went out to test my sword, and I was definitely a little bit disappointed, but yeah, I guess it still does good damage. But I then went down to the crystal biome because I needed crystal shards and some souls of light to craft a magic weapon that I wanted. But then I got jumped by a magic sword and a zombie and then died. When I went back down, I found a wandering trader, but he still didn't have anything good. But I was finally able to craft the crystal storm, which is actually pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I then tried to find some sky islands in hopes of getting the fledgling wings. I also made it up to space, which is pretty cool. And look, I even found a sky island right next to my base, but there wasn't even any loot on it. Also, while trying to find another sky island, I got attacked by a wyvern. And as you can tell, I was not prepared at all. And when I finally found some loot on a sky island, there wasn't any fledgling wings. But I did find the star fury, which is actually pretty cool. It might even be better than my adamantite sword. And look, I was even able to kill the dragon this time. And I even got some souls of light from killing it, which is used to craft wings. I killed like 3 more wyverns, then came to the snow biome to try to get an ice feather. But I guess we can just say that it didn't work out. I then went home and decided to make an underground storage room because I was running out of space. And I think it actually came out pretty good. I then went over to the jungle base because I wanted to expand it a little bit. And I don't really know why I made it this big, but I guess the NPCs were liking their new jungle home. Then I went back to the sky islands and I was trying to get a harpy feather to craft the harpy wings. And while farming for the feather, this happened. Yo, I got the giant harpy feather. I can craft wings. Yep, that's right. I can officially now craft my first ever wings. Let's go. And look at that. I can now fly. And now that I got wings, I decided to expand my arena so I could fight the 3 mechanical bosses. I then crafted the mechanical eyes so I could fight the twins. And when it turned night, it was time to beat my first ever mechanical boss, the twins. But I'm really not even going to show the whole fight because I literally did no damage and my arena was way too small to dodge the attacks. And I don't even know why I tried it again. But as you can see, it didn't go much different. After losing terribly to the twins, I decided to try and upgrade my gear, so I started by buying the pygmy necklace to get an extra summon. I even went so far to the right side of my world that I found an ocean. And while I was trying to make a house, I got rammed by a turtle. But then I came back and put up the house for the NPC that was there. And I think it looked pretty good when I finished it. I then started looking around the beach and the jungle to try to find some goblins to start the goblin army event. Because the goblin army event can drop some good weapons that will help me beat the mechanical bosses. But looking for them normally wasn't working, so I decided to build a flat area over the ocean to see if it would spawn that way. And as you can see, it works. Goblins were spawning. After farming the goblins for a little bit, I was able to craft the summon item to summon a goblin army. And luckily for me, the event was not hard at all. And I didn't do all of this for nothing, I guess, because I got the shadow flame bow, which is actually pretty good. And after that, it didn't take long before the goblin army was defeated. I don't really remember why, but I guess I just wanted to fight the Eater of Worlds again. But it wasn't really hard at all with my new weapons. Then I realized I had enough materials to summon the destroyer, and I didn't really want to fight the twins again, so yeah, I summoned the destroyer. But just like the twins, I got overwhelmed and died. At this point in the game, I had no idea what to do because I literally just kept dying. I even tried to fight the twins again, but I'm guessing you guys know how that goes. I now knew that my weapons right now were useless against the mechanical bosses, so I went down to hell to see if I could find any upgrades, and I definitely did. So basically what I was doing is farming for souls of light, then crafting a key of light, and if you put a key of light into a chest, then it turns into a mimic chest, which can give really good items. But the thing about mimic chests are that they are pretty hard to beat at this stage of the game. So yeah, I died. But even though it's rare, mimic chests can spawn in hell, and they're really my only option to get a good weapon right now, so I just kept farming them. And look, I even managed to kill it this time. Let's go. And from that mimic, I got a crystal vial shard, which isn't that good, but it's definitely better than all my other weapons at the time. I also accidentally summoned the wall of flesh again, and I almost died, but but I still killed him, so let's go. And the wall of flesh actually dropped me a very good weapon called the firecracker, which is very good. And finally, after literal hours of grinding these mimic chests, I got the dataless stormbow, which I'll be using to kill all 3 mechanical bosses. I mean, bro, just look at it. It shoots arrows from the sky. So I went back up expecting to easily beat the destroyer this time. I mean, at least I did better than my last try. At this point, I knew I wasn't good enough to beat the mechanical bosses in a head-on fight. So, you know, some people might say this is cheating, but I say that I'm outsmarting my opponent. Okay, wait, did y'all really think I was that bad at this game? Let's go. We finally beat a mechanical boss, even if I didn't fight it fairly. And all I'm gonna say is that not everything in life is fair. But anyways, as you can see, the destroyer drops hollowed bars, which will let me craft better armor and weapons. Also, this NPC came out of nowhere selling very good weapons, but I didn't have any of the defender medals, so I never really bought from him. But more importantly, with my hollow bars, I crafted a helmet and I crafted Excalibur. And just look at Excalibur. It's definitely my best sword yet. I then went ahead and killed the destroyer again to get some more hollowed bars. And after that, I had to kill it one more time because I got like no hollowed bars from the first one. And look at that, I was now able to complete the full hollowed armor set. I then went to this fairy biome to make a farm because I needed unicorns to spawn so I could kill them for their horns. And as you can see, it works pretty well. And look at this, with my new arrows, I was actually doing pretty good against the twins. And I might have even won the fight if I didn't get stuck on this wall. But luckily for me, I didn't give up on the twins and I kept fighting them. And I even expanded my arena a little bit. But sadly, it still wasn't enough. And even after beating Terraria, I still hate the twins. I then decided to be smart and decided to take a break on fighting the twins and fight Skeletron Prime instead. So I went down to the dungeon to get some bones so I could summon him. So when I got the summon materials, I immediately summoned him and started fighting him. And I gotta say that this version of Skeletron was definitely way cooler than the first one. And just like the first Skeletron, the fight was not hard at all. And at this point in the game, I was finally learning about different classes and decided I wanted to be a ranger. So I crafted the ranger helmet, which will definitely help me with future boss fights. Then I went on a little journey to get a magic quiver by killing skeleton archers, but very sadly I didn't get one. After I gave up on getting the magic quiver, I decided to put a painting up inside my house. Oh, and I also got a fire feather from this demon, which is used to craft some pretty cool wings. And I got a pretty cool new weapon called the unholy trident. I'm just hoping these wings are better than my old ones because they definitely look cooler. And then while preparing for the twins, I accidentally summoned them, so I just decided to fight them and this happened. Let's go. After so many attempts, I finally beat the twins. Let's go. And after beating the twins, I was able to make the pickaxe axe, which allowed me to mine both wood and stone with one tool. Also, now that I had beat all 3 mechanical bosses, that means chlorophyte and life fruits are now in my world. So that means I have some new stuff to get. And look at this, I already found some chlorophyte. After beating the mechanical bosses, I already knew that I needed to get a better weapon, so that's exactly what I did next. The first thing I did was kill the twins so I could get some gold. I still needed some more gold, so I sold some of my stuff, then bought the mini shark. I also beat the destroyer for the first time without cheesing it, which is pretty cool. I then went over to the ocean and killed a couple sharks to get their fins, and I even found an underwater chest. And after a little bit of grinding, there we go, I now had the mega shark. And this weapon should hopefully carry me through the next couple of bosses. I also made a bunch of ammo, which will soon be upgraded to chlorophyte bullets. And on my way to the jungle, I ran into this thing called the sand elemental, which just started attacking me out of nowhere. But I still killed it pretty easily, and it dropped a forbidden fragment, but I don't really know what that is, I'm not gonna lie. I then went mining for a lot of chlorophyte because I still needed the armor, and now I'm gonna need some bullets. And look at this, I even found my first extra life fruit, which gives me a little bit of extra health. And I know this is an early game item, but I actually just found the Hermes boots right here before fighting Plantera. I also had to clear a goblin army real quick because they randomly invaded my home. And I actually got a shadow flame knife from it, but I'm pretty sure that was only good for the mechanical bosses. I also didn't get all that chlorophyte for nothing, and I was actually able to make almost all of the armor. I was just missing the boots. So I then used a couple of splunker potions and I got a lot of chlorophyte. I then went ahead and fought the wall of flesh again, hoping to get a ranger emblem, but sadly I didn't get it. But after that, I was able to complete the chlorophyte armor set, and I also made a decent amount of chlorophyte bullets for the upcoming boss fights. And the reason I use chlorophyte bullets is because they're homing bullets, which means if you just aim in the direction of the enemy, it will will always hit it. Also, after beating the wall of flesh again, I finally got the ranger emblem I was looking for. I then went down to the jungle to search for the little flower that you have to break to summon Plantera, but I ended up accidentally fighting the queen bee instead. And I don't know if it normally takes this long, but after literal hours of looking for the flower, I finally found it. And after clearing up some space, I started working on a little arena just to make sure I was prepared for the fight. But of course, I was interrupted by a goblin army. But after I finished up my arena and I summoned Plantera, I was definitely very nervous coming into this fight, but I was also very prepared. I mean, just look how easy it was to keep my distance in this beautiful arena I built. And I even made it to the second phase on my first try, but then this happened. Oh. The mechanical bosses definitely got me a little bit better at this game, but I didn't think I was good enough to first try Plantera. But I guess Terraria is just full of surprises because I was definitely not expecting this to happen. And I also got a grenade launcher, which is pretty cool. Also, I didn't even notice till I got out, but I got a temple key which is used to fight the next boss. Oh yeah, and I was even able to craft the bee wings. But I still like my other wings better, so I never really used them. I then went all the way to the dungeon and went very far inside it because I thought the jungle temple was far down in the dungeon, but it obviously wasn't. But I went a little too deep and died. I then crafted the naughty present to summon in the frost moon in hopes of getting some good weapons. And the start of the event wasn't even that hard because I was just sitting on my arena and shooting down at them. But it quickly got harder as all the bosses started spawning in. And I was very quickly overwhelmed and started dying a lot. Then the main boss of the whole event spawned in, but it wasn't even that hard because I got it into a position where I could cheese it the whole time. But sadly, I didn't really get anything good during the frost moon. I also fought and beat Plantera again. Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you guys, but I actually got a magic quiver and I just found another one, so yeah, let's go. I even put up the Plantera trophy inside my house. I also got to work on building a blue mushroom biome because I needed an NPC that will only live in the blue mushroom biome. And at the start, it didn't look too good, but after a little bit of work, it actually looks pretty good. But it wasn't finished yet because I still needed the specific NPC to move in. And oh my god, I expanded so much, but it still wasn't enough for the truffle NPC. I then went mining for a very long time because I wanted to get enough chlorophyte to fight the next couple of bosses. But I also accidentally summoned Plantera, so I wasted a lot of bullets by killing it. But I did get the pygmy staff from it, which was better than my other summon, so yeah, that's pretty cool. But I returned to my blue mushroom house being corrupted, so I had to destroy everything around it. Also, while running to the ocean, this happened. Let's go, Truffle finally moved in. So I quickly sold some of my items so I could buy the auto hammer. And the reason why the auto hammer is needed is because it lets you craft shroomite bars, which at the time let you craft the best armor for rangers. And luckily for me, I was able to craft the whole shroomite armor set. And with my leftover shroomite, I crafted the helmet that increases bow stats just in case I ever get a good bow. I then went down to the blue mushroom biome so that I could find some truffle worms to fish up Duke Fishron. And it didn't even take very long before I got a couple truffle worms, so I went to the ocean to start building an arena. After building a decent arena, I fished up Duke Fishron. And fighting Duke Fishron head on definitely wasn't the smartest thing to do at this point of the game, but I guess I still did it. I mean, I didn't do terrible, but I just wasn't ready for Duke Fishron yet. So just like the fight with the destroyer, I had to be a little creative. I mean, my little teleportation system was better than nothing, but I guess it still wasn't enough to beat Duke Fishron. After losing to Duke Fishron, I decided to try and fight the boss in the jungle temple. But what I didn't know when entering the jungle temple is that it was loaded with traps. But I still decided to go in and see what happens. After killing some of the dungeon's creatures, I got some solar tablet fragments which summon in the solar eclipse event. And I was about to get all the good stuff in that chest, but I got overwhelmed by the lizards and all the traps and died. After dying in the jungle temple, I summoned in the pirate invasion in hopes of some good loot. And then the flying Dutchman came out of nowhere to try to kill me, and I think it has to be one of the coolest bosses I've seen in this game yet. But sadly, it didn't take too long to shoot it down. And after the flying Dutchman, nothing else really happened, so yeah, let's go. We beat the pirate invasion. But besides the golden table and bathtub, I didn't really get anything else too good. After quickly decorating my house with my new golden items, I went down to get some truffle worms because I still wanted to beat Duke Fishron. And I don't know why I didn't just try the teleportation thing again, because I just tried to fight it head on, which obviously didn't work. And I tried to fight him again, but I just kept getting overwhelmed by all of his attacks. So after dying to Duke Fishron 1,000 times, I went back to the jungle temple to try and beat the golem. And this this time I was actually able to loot the chest, and look at all the good stuff I got. I even made it to the boss room, but I didn't have enough room to set up an arena or anything like that. But I still built a little arena just so I could have some movement and be able to dodge the golem's attacks. After building the arena, I summoned in the golem and got the fight started. And I have to say, the golem definitely tests how good your movement is, because I had barely any room to move around. And I'd say I did pretty good for my first try, but after the golem started firing those lasers, it was just too much for me to dodge. But after embarrassingly dying to the golem, I crafted up a couple solar tablets so I could summon the solar eclipse and hopefully get some good loot. So after quickly summoning the solar eclipse, I was just looking for one thing, and that was really just a better weapon. And not even a minute into the event, I got a nail gun, which was the exact weapon I was looking for. I also got a good amount of items that I wasn't even looking for, like the broken hero sword, the death sickle, which was actually kind of cool, a strong eye of Cthulhu, and some Mothron wings, which are actually really good. And right after that, I beat the solar eclipse. Let's go. I also quickly killed the eye of Cthulhu to get the summoning item out of my inventory. I then put up some paintings to make my house look better. Also, I bought a load of nails for my new nail gun, and the nail gun was definitely the weapon I was looking for, because look how low I got Duke Fishron on my first try. And I got him even lower on my second try, but his second phase was just too hard. And after dying to him for the 400th time, I decided to set up my little teleporter thing again. And it doesn't even surprise me that Duke Fishron still found a way to kill me. But after some trial and error, I finally had found the perfect setup to beat Duke Fishron. And finally, on my 535th try, I have beat Duke Fishron. Let's go. Sadly, I didn't get the tsunami bow, but I still beat him, so it's whatever. But I didn't get the worst drop because I got a flying summon, which was definitely better than my old summon. But I did beat Duke Fishron a couple more times because I did really want the tsunami bow. And literally on my next attempt, I got the tsunami bow and I got the Duke Fishron trophy. So yeah, let's go. And fighting Duke Fishron now was 100% worth it because the tsunami bow was a huge upgrade from the other weapons I had. I even put up the Duke Fishron trophy in my house. I also fought Duke Fishron a couple more times because I was trying to get the wings that he dropped, but sadly I didn't have any luck getting it. But I did get a pretty cool bubble gun, so I guess it wasn't a complete waste of time. I then went back to the jungle temple to try to beat the golem again, and it was definitely a close fight, but there was no way anyone could dodge that. But the next try I pretty easily killed him, so yeah, let's go, the golem's down. I also had another battery, so I decided to kill him again for being an annoying boss. I then went to the dungeon to find the rare treasure it was telling me to find, but I didn't find anything, so I just left. And after that, I went all the way to the ocean and built a tower all the way up to space to try to start the Martian Madness event. And after a little bit of waiting, I got detected by the little UFO thing and started the event. And out of all the events I've done in Terraria, I say that this one is one of the hardest of them all. I mean, there's just so much NPCs coming at you that it just overwhelms you too quickly. And the boss was even harder because sometimes you would have all the NPCs shooting at you while you're trying to fight it. And I almost even killed it first try, but sadly I died. And as you can see, I did beat the event, but I still couldn't beat any of the bosses. I don't even know why I tried to do this, but I tried to fight the lunatic cultist, and here's how it went. Yeah, I probably should have prepared a bit more. I then got to work on a little base that will help me beat the Martian Madness event. Once I finished it, I went back up to space and started the event again. And as you can see, I can literally just sit in my base and wait for the boss to spawn while my summon and the lava does the work for me. And as you can see, it worked pretty well because I was able to kill the boss this time. Let's go. I also got some very good upgrades for my tools and weapons from this event too. And after killing this boss, I also got what I was looking for. I mean, look at me, I'm literally riding on a UFO. I then started flying back over to the lunatic cultist. I mean, the UFO definitely helped a lot, but it was still my fault that I died because I kept making the dragon spawn in by shooting the wrong one. And after going to get some chlorophyte with my brand new laser drill, I was feeling confident enough to beat him. And that's exactly what I did. And there we go, the lunatic cultist has now been defeated, which means the 4 pillars that spawn in the world, which when broken will summon the Moon Lord. And breaking the 4 pillars isn't even that hard, to be honest. All you have to do is kill 100 of the enemies around it. And after killing 100 of the enemies, there we go, the Stardust pillar is down. And the cool thing about the pillars is that it gives us fragments which allow us to craft the in-game weapons that help us beat the Moon Lord. So I quickly placed down the ancient manipulator and saw all the stuff I could craft. I then decided to craft the Stardust dragon staff, which which is probably the best summon in the game. I then went over to the Vortex pillar so I could get the Endgame Ranger weapons before I had to fight the Moon Lord. After destroying it, I got all the fragments and returned home. And I was then able to craft the Vortex Beater, which is hands down the best range weapon in the game. As you can tell, I was pretty happy about making it this far in the game. I then destroyed the other two pillars, then rushed over to the little arena I made to fight Moon Lord. And then it finally happened. No, that was crazy. But even though I was a little sad that I didn't first try Moon Lord, I quickly forgot about it and immediately beat the Lunatic Cultist. And I went ahead and destroyed all the 4 pillars so that I was ready to fight the Moon Lord again. And this time, it was going to be different. No! After dying to Moon Lord a couple times, I decided to go and explore the world and try to find some better gear. And after literal hours of finding gear to help me with the Moon Lord fight, this happened. Oh wait, wrong clip. Oh my god! Oh my god, let's go! Oh my god, we did it. After almost 60 hours of playing Terraria, we have finally beat the game. And we also got the most OP weapons in the game after beating them. I mean, like, bro, just look at this. I was so happy that I fought Moon Lord again, and I actually almost died, but yeah, luckily I didn't. But luckily I killed Moon Lord again because I actually got all the rest of the weapons from it. And look at this, I was also able to craft the final and the best ranger armor in the game. And I was also able to craft the Vortex booster. I mean, like, oh my god, look how fast I was moving with it, bro. But yeah, we did it. We finally beat Terraria. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. And make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next one.